3 aircraft. Gone. Not damaged, not disabled, destroyed. Before a single American pilot could reach a cockpit, before the alarm even finished sounding across the base, 3 of the most advanced combat aircraft ever built had already been turned into burning wreckage on a hardened shelter apron in the Persian Gulf. This was not a close call. This was not a near miss. This was a billion-dollar hole punched through the most expensive air defense network the United States has ever deployed in a combat theater, and it happened in less than 3 minutes. Good evening, I'm Lauren Hayes. Welcome to Frontline Finance. Tonight we have a special report, and I want to be direct with you from the start. What happened in the Persian Gulf in the early hours of March 13th is not the story that official press releases are telling. The press releases tell you about defensive systems performing within parameters, about intercept rates and coordinated responses. What they do not tell you is what got through. What they do not tell you is what it means that it got through. And what they absolutely will not tell you is whether there is a credible answer for stopping the next one. That is what we are here to do tonight. We have reconstructed the full engagement timeline from US Space Force launch detection logs, CENTCOM preliminary damage assessments, and reporting from journalists with direct access to officials who were watching this attack develop in real time. We are going to walk through every minute of it because the details are not just important, they are alarming. Let's begin. March 13th, 4:06 in the morning, local time. US infrared surveillance satellites detect simultaneous ignition signatures from 3 separate launch positions inside Iranian territory. 3 ballistic missiles, launched within a 40-second window of each other. This is immediately recognized, not as a probe, not as a test, as a coordinated salvo. The launch positions are not clustered together. They are distributed across a 200-kilometer arc in western Iran, and that geometry is not accidental. It is deliberate. It is designed to force American radar networks to track threats arriving from meaningfully different directions at the same time. 4:08 a.m. Ground-based radar at multiple Gulf installations confirms all 3 tracks. These missiles are traveling between Mach 9 and Mach 11 during mid-course flight. Trajectory analysis identifies the target with high confidence. THAAD batteries go to full engagement posture. Patriot systems begin their engagement sequencing. Electronic warfare assets come online. The defensive response is immediate, coordinated, and by every measurable standard, professional. 4:09 a.m. The first missile's post-boost vehicle separates. And here is where the engagement fundamentally changes. It does not release 1 warhead. It does not release 2. It releases 7 independently guided maneuvering re-entry vehicles, MARVs, each one capable of altering its flight path in terminal descent to defeat an incoming interceptor. The second missile separates 30 seconds later. 5 more MARVs. The third missile, traveling on a slightly different azimuth to further complicate the radar picture, separates at 4:10 a.m. 6 more MARVs. 3 missiles. 18 maneuvering re-entry vehicles, all independently guided, all descending simultaneously, all arriving from 3 different directions onto a single target. 18. The fire control systems are now processing 18 simultaneous tracks that are actively maneuvering to defeat the intercept solutions being calculated in real time. 11 MARVs were intercepted, 7 got through. And those 7 did not impact randomly across the installation. They hit the hardened aircraft shelters housing the F-22s, the KC-10 parking apron, and the base's primary electrical distribution node. The targeting was precise. Someone with detailed, specific knowledge of exactly where those aircraft were parked and exactly how that base's infrastructure was laid out, programmed those coordinates. 4:14 a.m. The last MARV impacts. The strike is over. Total elapsed time from first MARV impact to last, under 3 minutes. The fires burned for 6 hours. CENTCOM issued its first public statement confirming the attack after sunrise. Now let's talk about what was actually destroyed, because the dollar figures, as staggering as they are not the most important part of this story. The F-22 Raptor is not simply an expensive fighter jet. It is the only operational aircraft on Earth that combines 5th-generation stealth, supercruise capability, fully integrated avionics, and the kinematic performance to dominate any air-to-air threat environment it enters. No other air force on the planet fields anything that matches it in that combination. The United States built 187 operational F-22s. That production line closed in 2011. There is no backlog. There is no restart plan. Every F-22 destroyed anywhere in the world permanently and irreversibly reduces the total operational fleet. As of this morning, the US Air Force operates approximately 147 mission-capable F-22s. That number was 150 before March 13th. The F-22s in this theater were not there for dogfights. They were there for a specific mission that no other aircraft in the American inventory can perform at the same level. Penetrating heavily contested airspace, suppressing integrated air defense systems in scenarios where older aircraft cannot survive long enough to complete the mission. Escorting strike packages to hardened targets deep inside enemy territory. Lose enough Raptors and that option either disappears entirely or becomes catastrophically expensive in aircraft and pilots. The selection of these specific aircraft as the strike target was not opportunistic. It was calculated. It was a deliberate attempt to remove from the equation the one platform that makes certain missions survivable. Now let's talk about the tankers. Each KC-10 extender can carry approximately 356,000 pounds of transferable fuel. Without tanker support, the combat radius of most US strike aircraft is reduced by 30 to 60% depending on mission profile. Every long-range strike mission in this theater, F-15Es, F-16s, B-1 bombers, F-35s, every single one requires aerial refueling to reach meaningful targets and return safely. You do not need to defeat combat aircraft directly if you can make them unable to reach their targets. The US Air Force operates 59 KC-10s across its entire global fleet. 2 are now gone. $1.05 billion in airframes, destroyed before sunrise. Now let's answer the question everyone inside the Pentagon is asking. How did 18 maneuvering re-entry vehicles overwhelm the air defense architecture of a hardened, reinforced American installation? 3 compounding factors, each one individually manageable. Together, they created an engagement problem that exceeded the capacity of the defensive systems present. Factor 1, azimuth separation. The missiles were launched from positions spread across 200 kilometers. By terminal descent, the MAVs were approaching from 3 meaningfully different directions simultaneously. Processing 18 tracks from 3 separate azimuths creates more potential for targeting errors than the same number of tracks arriving from a single direction. Factor 2, timing compression. The missiles were sequenced so that the first MAVs from Missile 1 and the last MAVs from Missile 3 were in terminal descent at the same time. Controllers were never given the opportunity to fully service the first wave before the second and third waves were already inside the engagement envelope. Factor 3, interceptor inventory. The authorized emergency resupply following the previous strike was only partially in place. Against 18 actively maneuvering warheads, the available magazine was consumed before all threats were serviced. 11 intercepts. Those systems worked exactly as designed, but performing to specification against the threat you were designed for is not the same thing as performing adequately against a coordinated 3-axis saturation attack specifically engineered to find the intersection of your constraints and exploit it. Since March 4th, 11 separate ballistic missile salvos have been conducted against American positions. The first 6 were defeated with intercept rates between 80 and 92%. That phase of this conflict is now over. We are in a new phase, one where operational MAV capability has been demonstrated and where targeting intelligence has proven precise enough to place 7 independently guided warheads within lethal range of specific hardened aircraft shelters on a defended installation. The US Air Force has 147 operational F-22s. The production line has been closed for 14 years. The tanker fleet is globally stretched, and the installations housing the aircraft capable of conducting deep strike missions have now been demonstrably shown to be vulnerable to saturation attacks that existing defensive architecture cannot fully defeat. 3 F-22 Raptors, 2 KC-10 extenders, aircraft that took decades to design, that cost $143 million each to build, that cannot be replaced because the factory that made them is closed, destroyed in under 3 minutes, before a single pilot reached a cockpit. That is not a temporary setback. That is a permanent subtraction from American air power. And there are more missiles. The question that has not yet received a public answer is the one that matters most right now. How do you stop the next salvo? I'm Lauren Hayes. This has been a Frontline Finance Special Report. If this analysis gave you clarity that the standard headlines did not, share it, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Is the F-22 production line closure now a critical national security vulnerability that can no longer be ignored? I'll see you in the next one.